All right, the time has come.
Dumbo Jomden de Yin Cheban Ra Jomba Yanda Bar Dobe Sangye Riba Lan Shazu Demba Dewar Sheba Jeden Yamba Yebu Dube Kalo Juba Lana Meba Lada Mena De Dumba Sangye Tonden de Begewa Shaja Dumba Lan Shazu Judo Gyazun Jehu Jomden de Yin Cheban Ra Jomba Yanda Bar Zobe Sangye Riba Lan Shazu Demba Dewar Sheba Jeden Yamba Yebu Dube Kalo Juba Lana Meba Lada Mena De Dumba Sangye Tonden de Begewa Shaja Dumba Lan Shazu Judo Gyazun Jehu Jomden de Yin Cheban Ra Jomba Yanda Bar Zobe Sangye Riba Lan Shazu Demba Dewar Sheba Jeden Yamba Yebu Dube Kalo Juba Lana Meba Menage Domba Sangye Jomden de Begewa Shaja Dumba Lan Shazu Judo Gyazun Jehu Kani to pyotam se sajin de la gomba dumbor ne na kani de na choje so de se keba kyola cha cha kunga chodo so zang wa yi yo so sirgin lumbo ra ra ba jikten sumna hame wa kumbo chunye kyola cha cha Senjo tembo time tawe sha serdo rawa kyola cha zel Dude kyona sepa suma ji nyame genjen kyola cha zel Gombo tuje che demba tamje kembe demba Sona yönden yazo jen de shin chela cha zel Abe de cha te war gir yewe ngen son le sho shin Tidu yöndan çö yürüva, şi yürüşüla şahsal. Çoğu lan yaptın, lapa, dalla, radını. Çingi damba yöndüğünde, gündüğün bayan şahsal. Çiyan meşaşin, keva kuzun sobargi. Rangi semni yonsun dövdüğüne, sangi demba yemayı. Karma rabrim marmedan. Yuma silpa çuburdan milan lodan dindavu düce çönam de darda donan de tamce zipayi kopan tone gönge da durte gadan adan çive laptupte sibe solen dro röre şo. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, fully of knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, nor of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When the supreme among humans you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world, to you who are wise then I prostrate. Pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, the winner of the best Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like the spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Your immaculate 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. the Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one God, the thusness I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to that dharma which pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the foe of false, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by waves of aging, sickness, and death. Vanilla number tajik bumbo mabo de da la ya ra jingi dombo number tao. It who said on them by Sharibu, Janju Zemba Zemba Jumbo Baba Jimmy, the one to la tige Jimeso, Sharibu, Kanala, Shiragi Baru, Jimba Sama, Jiba, Juba, Juba, the Shida Lavarja, they get him about Janju Zemba Zemba Jumbo Baba Jimmy, the one to give. Sharada de Bula de Gejimeso, Sharibu, Riki Buam, Riki Bumo, Kanala, Shiragi Baru, Jimba Sama, Jiba, Juba, the Didar number tower, Shadi, Humbo Mabo de Dalayan, Rashiki, Dombar, number, Andabar, Jesus Tao. Domba ni Zuzu, Domba ni Shimayan, Domba ni Legan, Shimayan, Dejan, Fora, Dishidan, number Shiba, Domba, Sharibu, the Darshitam, Domba ni Sinimeva, Magaba, Shimameva, Shimameva, Gamameva, Sharibu, the Dawina, Domba ni La Sume, Sorba, Shime, number Shiba, Nawame, Name, Time, Lume, Yime, Sume, Rame, Rame, Chume, Dome, Kigame, Bane, Yigi, number Shibe, Game, Barde, Yamedo, Mariba, Seba, Nebanegashime, Kaisi, Sebe, Barde, Yamedo, Tejindro, Doma, Wadam, Pomijum, Wadam, Wadam, Lame, Shime, Tobame, Matoba, Yamedo, Sharibu, the Dawina, Janju, Simba, Nam, Toba, Shir, Shiragi, Paru, Jimba, Latin, Nede, Sima, Shindu, Dimin, Yang, Hare, Shindu, Sundu, Number, Jube, Sangi, Tamji, Yang, Shiragi, Paru, Jimba, Latin, Lana, Me, Bayana, Berzobe, Janju, Umar, Sangi, Dawina, Shiragi, Paru, Jimba, Lana, Me, Benga, Miyamba, Danyam, Benga, Dunga, Tamjira, Dushi, Varchi, Benga, Mizu, Wena, Dembushi, Bushi, Shiraji, Baru, Chimbenga, Mevatayata, Gade, Para Sangate, Buddhi, so. Sharibu, Janzu, Semba, Chimbo, Deda, Shiragi, Baru, Chimbo, Zamon, Abajao, Dene, Chumnende, Dingin, Dele, Shende, Janju, Semba, Jumbo, Baba, Chinese, Wanjula, Leso, Shejawa, Jine, Lexo, Riki, Bu, Dede, Shino, Dede, Shinde, Jidar, Yogi, Demba, Jiragi, Baru, Chimba, Samola, Jade, Dezin, Semba, Nam, Jesu, Yeramo. They get a cut and it's a dandemba, Shari, the Dibudan, Janju, Semba, Shambo, Baba, Chile, the Wanjo, Dandembe, Kuru, the Danvata, Midan, Hama, Yindan, Jizaji, Vejidin, Yeran, the Chomden, the Gesumbalam, Thus I have heard, once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgriha, and vultures speak, together with a great assembly of monks and bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was totally absorbed in the concentration that examined all phenomena, all profound illumination. And at the same time, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, was engaged in the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, analyzing the five aggregates by nature empty. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra spoke to the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, "How should those of good family learn who wish to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond?" Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, replied to the Venerable Shariputra, saying, "O Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of good family wishes to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, should look at it like this, analyzing the five aggregates by nature in form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is no other than form. Form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, karmic formations, and consciousness are all empty. Therefore, Charipatra, all phenomena are empty without characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are neither impure nor free from impurity. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Charipatra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no karmic formations, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. There are no spheres of the eyes up to no spheres of the mind. There are none of these all the way up to the sphere of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, nor is there destruction of ignorance. There are none of these all the way up to there is no allegiance there, nor is there destruction of allegiance. Thus there is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, and no path. There is no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, all bodhisattvas hold to the wisdom gone beyond, and because there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond falsity, they reach beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times, by relying on the wisdom gone beyond, fully and clearly awakened to unsurpassed, most perfect and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the wisdom gone beyond, the mantra of great insight, the unequaled and unsurpassed mantra, the mantra that calms all suffering, should be known as the truth, for there is no deception. The mantra of the wisdom gone beyond is proclaimed, Tayata, Gade, Gade, Bada, Gade, Bada, Sam, Gade, Bada, Soha. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn the profound wisdom gone beyond. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and praised the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, very good, O son of good family, it is exactly like that. The profound wisdom gone beyond should be practiced exactly as you have said, and then the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the noble Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, men, anti-gods, and spirits, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. So ends the noble discourse on the essence of the wisdom gone beyond.
아니 다 최다 최만 인생 남샤도 이거나다 지단 도와 신라 미세기 단다 대신 야외 야외 요마르라 아니 야외 답시 아 요마르스타 제가 말하는 미지도나 아니 최다 최만 마 최켈레마 최켈레 바세다 아니 외주 단계가 그래서
It is Sunday now, and we resume the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment, an introduction to the Buddha Dharma. This is the introduction to Dharma. It is relevant to human beings particularly, and different from other beings in 6 realms. The human being has, as relevant to them, Dharma, the proposition of there being Dharma or not, the prospect of practicing Dharma or not, relevant to human beings particularly, not so to other migratory beings in the same way. Thus, ordinarily, our notions of Dharma or adharma, practicing Dharma or not.
밀레야는 다 최케는 말레는 세다 그죠. 그 단위 용도 다 최케는 말레세 방법 최세게 민다서 참조 한번에 당기 모신 거 말은 아니 최다 주만이게 최래다 최 말을 단위 살살을 말아 제가 당보다 최다 최 많이 봐세 단위 자사 최세 아니라고 모신 거 해지 못해요.
Acknowledgement of Dharma, or a lack of acknowledgement of Dharma, the notion of Dharma and Adharma, a terminology familiar to us. It refers to the named thing, Dharma, such that one can discriminate Dharma from Adharma, non-Dharma. Therefore, to do so, one must first be introduced to and familiar with Dharma.
세야지 지금 나 저당요도 아니 죄가스 나 내주지 요아치 못다네 내주 요아치 다네 소요제 투와 아니 잡투에 된다데 소랑이 된다데 좀 짐바스 짐바 죄가스 어디지라다 취스 시제기 요래서
Dharma, as it is used, conveys alteration, the possibility of significant alteration to situation, circumstance, and additionally holding to, hewing to that substantially altered situation. Thus these two, holding and altering Dharma.
나 죄가 가르쳐 버렸으나 다 말아도 가다 버려서 사람하게 service 동행이 말아도 다 하게 내가 타도 동행 내다 요요 내주디 아니 요왔다 내주 요왔다 아니 저게 동행이 뭐 매버스네 대화지를 브루트야 합시 제발 나고 합시 제발 되라야 저기 양수랑 짐바치바 레이지가 따마 취했어 아니 그치 단계 열에서
An alteration or transformation to of what? For us, in our minds, beleaguered by pain, both temporary and constant, that the circumstance of the mind in pain is the situation that is transformed, altered, such that the nature of pain is transformed into well-being, and the means and method to that transformation, and then the hewing to that means, to that transformation, is Dharma.
제가 근데 이들 다 만들 된다 수수 좋아 tempo 매봐 그 유행이라 신나 내봐디 아니 같이 보이잖아 그래 이 tempo 요와 좋아 매봐 이제 뭐 루트에 다 자와지가 아니 쉐스 해줬다는 거 그래서
So then the nature of events being changing and unstable is itself used to transform circumstances from one of instability toward a lasting well-being, and then the name Dharma to the process.
굉장히 저기 좋았던 수야 좋고야 좋았던 좋고야 안에 굉장히 그래야겠다 시도를 가지고 그랬으나 아 미쳐서 내가 지 수가 샘스 니체 아니 디나다 수 아마도 메수술 자로 있는 수술을 이외에 치 수들라 아니 다 루이다 니체 아니 nonsense 또 무슨 아니 무슨 일이다 삼로다마 치당 죄와 가리마 되게딜라 교수 당연히 와지 되지. 사실 요새다 고슴 못들 그거 레슨.
The need to make such a transformation takes place, that transformation that would take place takes place on what foundation? Takes place on the foundation of an external physical body and an internal mind. These foundations that are transformed, and each person has in them a physical body that is external and physical, and their verbal actions that are external and physical, and additionally they have their inner mind, and they make up 3 doors. These 3 doors then are the foundation for the transformation. The transformation occurs through these 3 doors.
이제 이들 좀 다음은 최제세, 최제들라 다 보고 대세로 차리. 아니 나는 쌤이 최가 질 루마지 최. 다 최니 차는 거 해서.
When dharma would be done, then it would be through these categories that are inner, the mind, and outer, the body, and the voice.
뭐였다? 질루마기 줘봐 소 냠슬랑 최지단직 난 쌤이 아니 줘봐 냠슬랑네 아니 최지단 그래 봐. 다들 수수도게 거기 줘봐 보다 아니 최 냠슬랑이 냠내서 생각이 더네 아니 루마 최소 칭해다 쌤이 최소 칭해 되게 개발도 요구요 해서
Therefore, this external physical body, along with the internal mind, are brought into the transformative practice through the instruction of a teacher and a series of practices to be adopted, which transform that external physical body and verbal activity and transform the inner mind.
사치 루마디 최 냠슬랑바다 때네 아니 다만서 지금 한게 돼야 되는 다다 두투바다 미드베 동에 다다 세투바스게디 다 용패하시라 카고 차리가 됐어 다 루마디 쳐다 때니 내가 대화투바다 동에 세바다 그래 이네 다 강이 지금 되버나 신 동에 세바다 아니 대화투바스게디 다 용투가 매바 다디 인디자마 아니 다 이바 답시 이바 당 셈마 때 취지 보고 이바 다디를 비워해서
Based only upon the external physical body and one's verbal activities, one might achieve some of one's wishes and dispel some pains and achieve some temporary success. This is possible, but to achieve everything that one wishes and to eliminate everything in the way of pain and suffering, this one cannot achieve merely through their physical body and their verbal activities. And so then that second requirement, that the transformation occur through the mind.
뭐였다? 난 셈이 때문에 아니 다랑이 대화투보다 동네 세바스 제기다 최근 냠슬랑 뭐이나 아니 다 대화투보다 네 타다 세바스가 제시자사 냠내치야 아니 도자 강가다 뒤여봐지 다들이 뭐는 문제 지리요 해서
Therefore, additionally, the inner mind, through which all well-being may be achieved, through which alone all pains and sufferings may be dispelled. This inner mind, when it is foundation to practice of dharma, then leads to the ultimate in well-being and the thorough eradication of pain and suffering, and the presentation of these prospects and the introduction of practices with these ends, and finally, the very achievement of these very outcomes comes to pass through identifying the mind as foundation and acknowledging that it is so.
아니 거기 직사제로 치다는 이샤 아니 치료 최신 나로 최신 근데 삼았다는 이렇게 거야 저 다 개가 말해 나다 치 류마 줘봐다 난 셈이 줘봤어요 아니 난 셈이 줘봐다 다 정가르치에 냠내 시기 원인데 난 주로 대신 스타트 이게 왜 어려서
Therefore, in explanation of dharma and distinguishing that external dharma of the physical body and verbal activities from the internal mental activities and the dharma that concentrates on these, if we leave these two separate and apart, then there's no particular point to this presentation of dharma. The external physical body and verbal activities would acknowledge the internal activities of the mind, and these internal activities of the mind would be put through transformative practice, and in such a way then the explanation of dharma as dharma of the inner mind becomes apparent.
근데 이게 다치 lum하게 줘봐 장마들라 아니 내가 저기 저와 친구다 깔래 친구시라 이거 말 lum하게 줘봐라 랑이 한다 땅지 제토그래 lum하 그 줘봐나 루지 줘봐 이내 가서 루지 줘봐 뒤치고 뒤치는 저기 말해서 가서다 참 망고제 투고요 와 디나시 말아야 제 투고를 따이는 이기 줘봐들라 나 그게 다 공부하시 친구지 마대나 남산 제바 제백 지초다 마초다 되게 맞게 다니 남산 지투고였으나 지투에 가고 있는 이 메디즈 봐 다스는 제바디 데스 퓨카 양내지도 배 제카가 있는 내담 자대 그래서
Activities that are physical and verbal do not entail the effort and hard going that go along with transformation of the inner mind. It's easy enough to indicate to a person regarding what they would do physically, what they would do verbally, that they would do this and not that, would do this and not that. All sorts of prescriptions are easily made. Mental activities, however, unless first there is a great stride made, are not easily receptive to, sensitive to any idea of this being proper and this improper. In this way, transformation of the mind requires much more in difficulty.
뭐도 다 근데 이게 좀 뭐다 lum하게 줘봐 중에 빼나 뭐 중에들 사셔 있는 중에 냥에 대한 다소 그 중에 용해 또 용해 곧 내상에 되나요 lum하 이 숨래 그나시 계획이 내산이 대화 중요하게 곧들어야 루마 예숨 동해 중에 곧들어야 루마 예숨 집어집어 강간이 찬양을 해서
It is in the experience, it is for us in the experience of pain, always pain that emerges from former activities that are physical and verbal and mental. Physical, verbal, and mental activities always being caused both for well-being that is experienced and for pain that is experienced. And in this way, across the three, body, speech, and mind, responsibility for the experience of pain and satisfaction.
제가 근데 이제 루마지 대화 톱나양 대화 내가 대화래 땡이 대화 말해 아니 루마지 거네 사비 동해 중앙에 있나야 내가 동해 중앙을 말 동해 내가 그냥 루마지 거네 사비 때 루마지 거네 사비가 동해에서 다 두비 내가 동해 다 봐. 이는 동해 때는 다 봐라거나 다 이거 말했어. 어쨌든 다 단도티가 동해 세 거야. 또 대화 두 거야. 다 신지 여봐 때문에 다 얘기 되게다. 내도 되게 되네. 대화 니버들 내요 알아서.
When physical satisfaction and well-being is experienced, that physical satisfaction and well-being will necessarily be temporary, for it is not the ultimate in satisfaction. So too, when physical pain is experienced, it too will be temporary and it won't be lasting. And when there have been accumulated non-virtues that are physical and verbal, and then they are purified, that purification will be temporary and not the ultimate in purification. For pleasure and displeasure, experience follows from mental activities. Satisfaction and dissatisfaction emerge from mental activities.
근데 이제 따라서 거기 동해 다 때는 다 받아. 대화 그때 토바지. 단 양수란 그 위에가 있나? 다 얘기 줘봐. 얘기 줘봐디. 아니 줘봐들다 계획에 싸가 뒷벨에 싸가 니요. 다 뒷벨에 싸바디 아 매버스. 아니 계획에 싸바 줘봐. 다들 주비하게 된다라. 아니 맞다. 최고래 냠내 최고래 최고 냠내 최고를 써야 다 뜻이 자서 자와 독설 뭐다 이 얘기 너무 좁아서 냠수아야 나 시기가 해서
The dispelling then of pain and the final achievement of well-being depend upon mental activities, principally then, which involve these mental activities, either accumulation of non-virtues or the accumulation of virtues. That accumulation of non-virtues would be brought to an end. The accomplishment and upholding of virtues mentally would be brought about. And it is in this way that the sense of dharma and the sense of spiritual practice finds its root being here in mental activities, the very beginning.
뭐였다? 근데 이제 다마도 안다르다 대화 grups야 돼. 동행 세야겠다. 동행다. 대화들라. 대화라야 ramri thasum be. 망고 yor 동행라야 왜 ramri thasum 이게 yor. 세상다 동행 참모된도 세야. 아니 대화 참모 들고 그 여봐이나 다 얘기 토라. 얘기 줘봐. 그 약보지. 장 얘기 줘봐. 들어봐야 하는 장바체네 아니 이네 요와 템버스 마주나 아니 동에세 투야 매와다 대화 그 투야 매봐 단 니즈 대대저 투와 이들 땅아서 시내 땅 남내 지도자 아니 다 방법 거기 남내 거를 봐 시험들 아니 다 거기 공부 사람들도 공부 그런 거를 보다 공부도 팀백이 아니 남내 좀 망고 되게 되잖아 레비어 해서
To accomplish that well-being and eliminate pain and suffering. Awareness that well-being and satisfaction is of greater and less subtleness, such that there is the most exquisite, the very best in well-being, an average sense of well-being, and an inferior kind of well-being. And there is to arrange in the subtleness of the pain that would be eliminated, and arrange in the subtleness of the well-being that would be won. It is through a transformation of mental activities, a training and transformation of mental activities, that the subtlest in pain and suffering may be finally eliminated, and the subtlest forms of bliss and well-being found. And therefore, as there is the range and subtleness of the result, then there are stages along the path, those fit to the person of greatest sensitive intelligence, and those suited to the individual of average sensitivity, and those suited to those of least sensitivity.
근데 이들 다만도 인생이 가르쳐버렸으나 아마도 뇌에 대화 미드에 동에 사이 군이 일을 제단다 뇌에 대화 두바단 동에 미드 세바 생에 되라다 근데 세고 유나 아니다 가진 공부시야 인생 아니 생기 주베게 남샤티게 있다는지 생기 되게 동에 이게 이상한 세워다 대화잖아 두고 유바이나 다들 두배야 탑 아니 냐면 같이 세 마오지 제가 있나요? 겸로 레데기 겸로다 레규레기 남샤티랑이 율라 냐면 세 요거지 맞잖아 아니 다 간달 동에 제 투야 매바당 대화도 투야 매바지 난 니주직 차와 인자 다 당보 냐면 이게 저 당보 될라야 아니 겸로 레데기 남샤 센터 내 당보가 지나다 난 내 토마치에 인생도 미디 연구가 돼서
What rationale is involved here, then, in acknowledgement that well-being is what we are after, and the elimination of pain too, these two principally? When we acknowledge that pain is undesirable and satisfaction and well-being desirable, then we find the relevance to us of the presentation of an inner science of the mind for the purpose of accomplishing and achieving well-being and bringing an end to pain. And when it is so, then we begin with the minimum condition for achieving this, which is first refuge and recognition of karmic causality. For without these, refuge and acknowledgement of karmic causality, there can be no elimination of pain and suffering, and there can be no final accomplishment and achievement of well-being. As this is then the situation, the starting point where all begin is in refuge and recognition of karmic causality. Here then is our rationale.
아니 jam도 간다 jam이 jam보다 jam보다 jam그게 다도 되게 발려는데 아니 jam송도 남샤데 예바 매다 매롱아 차대 그래서
When we desire liberation from bondage in samsara, when we wish for protection and relief from the pain of samsara, then we would carefully examine where is there found a capacity to protect us from the pain of samsara. Who is it that would be able to do this? And the guide and the essence, the dharma, and the assistance of the sangha, these are that and who liberate from samsara, and recognition of this, therefore, is indispensable.
껴가지고 강에 맞다고 얘기 동네를 껴보고 이와인데 아니 다 껴다 안에서 껴버려서 저걸래 이제 만들 안에 껴버려 가디 껴버려 아니로 맞잖아 딜리어도 다 이제 껴쓰리 만들어 땅한테 르마지 배 동네 저 이나 아니 거기 추네 다야 이거를 아니 우리가 저마다 있는 곧 받고도요 수야요 내야요 다시 막고요 근데 이거 것도 시겹어요 여러 왔다 근데 얘기 동에서 그 겹어요 그 류기 동에 껴가는 힘 말해 얘기 동에 껴도 류기 동에 껴도 제발 좀 보여 옛날시 아니 거기 지금 잘라도 있는 거기 교회도 언제부터 가리나고 잘라서 라베 발레지 파샤 파유가요 아니 맞아 쌤이 동네 라베 잘라 발레만 내야 이거 파유가요 아니 아직 거기 교회디 배나마도 밤에 보고를 녀버져 가지고 교회디 라나 가와도 그렇대 아니 메가도 발레체 저요 맞다 이 동네 세세데 다 랑이 최 저 방법 최 변법 최 뜸보고 최 뜸바 되는 최디 냠슬랑 발 때는 아니라는 게 주변으로 로가 제베게 합시 제 아니라니까 동네들에 타고 합시 제벌만도 이 많이 봐 나가 이바지 아니 이기 동네에 합시 매번인데 아니 개고요 숨세 내버도 때고 굉장히 잘해서
For this protection from samsara, the three precious and sublime gems are discovered to be who and what provides such protection. When one is at the edge of a precipice, then, and one intervenes, keep them from falling, we ask, how do they manage this? And the three precious and sublime gems would not manage this through alteration of our physical and verbal activities alone. Any transformation and alteration to just these physical and verbal activities do not allow us protection in samsara. Then how is protection afforded to us? When does it come? Protection provided by the three precious and sublime gems is not of the kind that is to merely eliminate misdeeds through ablution, washing with water. When the body stinks, it may be washed. It is not physical in this way, not merely physical in this way, that it depends upon a transformation of mental activities, shows what a great difference there is between the sorts of things that may happen merely physically. We have our hands and we can pick things up and throw them away. We can pick up objects, keep them, choose to throw them away. But mental activities are not so straightforward as physically picking something up and throwing it away, nor so straightforward as giving to children the sorts of things that make them happy. It's not so simple as giving to another that which makes them happy. The guide showing dharma indicates what dharma is. It is an indication and presentation of dharma. It is shown, and then what is shown may be adopted, and one may look to others for exemplary assistance, and in this way, by following as is shown, one may find liberation from samsara. This is the means, and there is no other means apart from the transformation occurring through mental activities. And the three precious and sublime gems show just this.
아니 동행이 가게 내주 심에 차는 아니 최대 먹고 상계를 잡고 들어보고 다 뒤는데 다 뭐시 량데 다 맨날 아주 그 토할 타르바 동행을 타르바 제발 동행다 대화도 동행 뭐시 뭐 셰리 대화도 동행 아니 그게 대화를 차셔 있나 아니 대화도 왜 주 아니 랑 토적이 대화 뭐 되게 가가 다 최군조 차대요 최군주세. 다니네 최군주디 뭐시면 제발라. 당고 거기 동해디 야고치 뭐 맞잖아. 당그 당고 동해이 뭐 마셔나? 아니 동해 뭐지 두고 말아. 동해 뭐지 뭐 동해 뭐지네. 동해는 견도 통. 동해는 견도 통네. 동해는 탄도 삼바께. 탄도 삼바께는 다른 삼바되길라네. 아니 다가 토바데. 다 최군주 뭐 차지어레스. 내준대다 최군주 le gewa ta kan de wa de chu ku ju de re so.
And therefore, presentation of pains and sorrows, so that they might be identified as pain and sorrow. And then from that acknowledgement of pain and sorrow, an inclination for liberation from that pain and sorrow that would cause one to look to three precious and sublime gems as providing the refuge from that pain and sorrow. So the process to the move toward liberation from samsara and liberation from pain. Satisfaction and dissatisfaction would be seen as they are. For instance, satisfaction as coming about through its respective causes in virtues. This itself shown clearly by the guide. It is indispensable to first recognize pain as it is and satisfaction as it is. First, pain as it is, so that pain can be known to be the peril that it is. And when pain of samsara is known to be perilous, then the desire to liberate oneself from it emerges. And then dharma as the essence of that liberation, namely virtuous karmas, may be discovered.
Well, that indeed, that indeed, that chu kunjo de rangi yula top de kansa de la, ta kansa kandi juwa ina ya, de la ta gindu kunjo. Ta kansa rangi tongba baga chu nilu chasan, le junde ki namsha chasan rangi shenpa inza, ta kola chu kunjo yula nga warwa, chu yula nga wa inza, ta ko yula yunye de la, ani gindu kunjo. 거기 딱 같이 그랬으나 최근 내로자산 세계계가 있는 하나씩 다 동행을 껴봤어야겠다. 그걸 누가 더 보이면서 누가 그걸 비교해서 다 거기 누구 좋았어. 하고 위쪽 나갈게. 근데 교육이 나와. 레벨 인생도 되게 잘 해서
When nature as it is understood to an individual, that individual whose mind comprehends nature as it is, this individual is the member of the Sangha. They comprehend karmic causality and know it fully. They are endowed, therefore, with dharma. This makes them the very Sangha, as they comprehend and understand the nature of dharma. And such an individual has the power to provide protection from samsara. And for this reason, they are one of the members of the three precious and sublime gems.
지난달 군주 숨 생겼다. 교육 군주 숨생 상담을 따라하기 냐면 지원들 되겠다. 옆된 거 보잖아요. 다나다 대화다 동에 뭐 줘봐. 그 세시 얘기 전에 옆도 산지 아니 다 보고 동해를 이제 껴보고 뭐 껴야 전에 껴군조. 아 껴야 라는 거 이렇게 저 전에 기류군조. 다들 껴준 거 맞지? yes 예고 소나 야고 열에서
Thus the three precious and sublime gems, these three, the three sources of refuge, are to put the Bhagavan as teacher, presenter of pain and suffering as they are, known as the teacher who is the precious and sublime gem, who shows dharma, and it is dharma that affords the actual protection and refuge. It is the actual refuge, thus the dharma jewel, and then those who provide the assistance necessary, the sangha. These three then become the three precious and sublime gems, the three jewels.
다들 내 접수 못 되거나 접이는데 아니 다 접이 담아 가지고 어디다 접이 다 빼나 나도 지금 되게 다 미세나다 일이나 다 나도 동에 되라 세대기 개가 나시 동에 나도 다 가진 것도 콜렉시 뜻이 여기 담아 동에 숨삼바 동에 개삼바 동에 죽삼바 가진 것도 다 동에 뜻이 여기 어디를 뜻이 개가 제가 일이 세딜을 다 나도 para 미터 차샤바에는 개가 나지기 동에 다른 줄로 껴버 제바다 제벌 세딜을 껴버 제바디 아니 군조 껴베야기 세딜을 껴베야기 세딜을 껴베야기 하자는 투충와이다 아다 세딜을 껴베야기 군조도 다 껴세야 말다 이제 껴세야 다 이제 봐 치마 지금 치마 맞아 지금 디다 지금 치마 이제 다 지금 치마 껴베야기 내가 대치쇼디 말이야. 제가 다 지금 치마를 껴야 돼. 그거 또 차네. 냠내세가 거기 냠내기 좀 맥찬 시어도 다 뭐 당보 시어도 양도다 레데디하고 양도 오면서 레데하고 시험을 때는 아니 다 겹서 유조 가르치면 지금 치마들 껴고 치마들 껴고 아니 그거 또 차기가 해서 이다 참아.
What is the place and when is the time where the protection of the three precious and sublime gems occurs ordinarily in our considerations of a lifetime, in consideration of pain in a lifetime? It is pain of birth, aging, sickness, and death. And again, as I have described, there are two presentations of pain as of 3 kinds, 8 kinds, 6 kinds. In any case, in a lifetime, for a human being, the pains are pain of birth, aging, sickness, and death. And protection from these, birth, aging, sickness, and death in a lifetime, this would be but a weak use of the protection afforded by the three precious and sublime gems. So it is not the sense of the protection and refuge provided by the three precious and sublime gems. Rather, it is the next world, the next existence, rather than merely this world and this time alone. Through practice and stages, protection is found in subsequent lives, in subsequent existences, and this is the protection intended here. And in the early stages of practice, the importance then of refuge and acknowledgement of karmic causality For when these are understood and practiced, then the place and time where the protection is found is just in these subsequent lives.
예. 나 이제 아주 그게 교배야 되는데 유시하는데 지된 치마를 줘야 탑때마다 지된 치마 치다 줘야 지된 sabje 이 치는 시하고 해서
Ale, jitar timba.
지된 치마
Oh,
줘야 탑때마다 지된 치마를 치다 줘야 탑때마다 쟤는 치다 줘야 주인이 대생이 있는 시소를 해서
대진이 아니 잡아도.
아
대진이
지된 치마 맞더라 줘야 탑때마다 지된 치마 치다 줘왔어
let's say. Therefore, the place where the protection occurs in these subsequent lives involves the indication of the method for transmigration and how the transmigration occurs.
나 현재 인디서마다 간다르 지된 치마 나 지된 치마도 탑때마 세야 되었다 나도 간다르 지된 치 나도 새 치마 여랑이 겨와 치마 이어봐다 이네바 겨와 치마 니지 망고 이어봐 되게 뜻이 같이 나 지된 치마 로아 세야 되나 또 세 유되나 아니 된도다 면로스 뜻이 같다 되게 뭐래
In the transmigration, the subsequent lives, and the way in which it occurs, there are many variety of presentations of the process. And then regarding where one arrives, subsequent life, there will be either a fortunate rebirth, or misfortune of a low rebirth.
근데 이제 나도 그게 지내 치마 도사기 위대라 덴도 당연도 니 요새 다 덴도 당연도 니 요베 나네 다 그게 다 덴도레이나 다 덴도데라 하다미다 하마이 숨데라 덴도세 다 되네 뭐게 니도데라 니와이다 그도세 도 리투크 나네 니와이다 그도순 니도세 아니 하다미다 하마이 손대라 데로스 따노 로사게 네로 숨미여 같이 근데 너를 좀 나도 진짜 시켜보려 그래서
Subsequent lives will take place in fortunate rebirths or unfortunate rebirths. These two kinds then, the fortunate rebirth and the unfortunate rebirth, encompass in fortunate rebirth as Deva, human being or Asura. In unfortunate rebirth as hell being, Preta, or animal. And in this way, 6 realms beings, 6 migrators across 3 fortunate rebirths and 3 unfortunate rebirths. So the 6 realms beings.
되게 여기서 뭐 따마주 탄다 가리시 잡고 버스나 다 지된 치마 조사기다 마주 빨래 바게 줘야 조사 되겠다 조세 유되려야 대세니 있어 된도 당연도서 아니 된도를 줘이나 아니 주가를 거래 아니 된도를 줘야 주가를 거래 아니 된도를 탈바치고는 주가를 거래 된도를 탈바치고는 주가를 거래 스타디 뜻이 결과에서
What further explanations follow then from this? The classification of subsequent lives as either fortunate or unfortunate. Between these 2 fortunate rebirths and the unfortunate rebirths, what would be causes for fortunate rebirths would be presented And what would be those causes that lead to unfortunate rebirths? These two are presented. And furthermore, what would be cause for liberation from fortunate rebirths would be presented. And what would be the causes for liberation from unfortunate rebirths? These two would be presented. Protection and refuge, where would that occur? And how would it happen? For protection from pain in unfortunate realms, how would such protection be extended? It wouldn't be available without necessary familiarity with what the pain of misfortune in unfortunate realms is. Without that, there can be no measure of what would be liberation from the bondage of such pain. And similarly, for protection from pain in fortunate realms, there must first be recognition of what is pain found in fortunate realms. Thus, pain across these two, fortunate rebirths and unfortunate rebirths, is required for the recognition of the perils of pain in both realms, which then may be followed by the indication of what is the means to protection and liberation from these pains. Between these two, the pain in fortunate realms and pain in unfortunate realms, the pain in unfortunate realms is greater, of greater intensity, more long-lasting, and of more kinds, more diverse. And as it is so, then first, the presentation of these is important. And in all the pains found in unfortunate realms, the worst pain of all is known to hell beings, less the pain known to Preta, and less still the pain known to animals, all within the unfortunate realms. In the range of pain in unfortunate realms, most intense pain, less pain, least pain. In the unfortunate realms, there is this range. And as there is this range, take for instance, the negative karma of taking a life. Taking the life of a goat, for instance, this accumulates karma, and that karma has as consequence results that are of greatest intensity, less intensity, and least intensity there.
그래서 인부도 없이 시에가 가더라. 그래서 소주를 내다고 찍을 자로 이나스. 남이 지부도 녀와를 깨야지. 녀와 녀에도 이 용고가 ছে. 그러니까 남이 지부도 다 사네. 딱고 다도 지부 동의 용고가 요 말을 쓰는 동의 용고가 요. 그 남이 지부질라 유등이 그냥 유등이 지부디 아니 미에나 냐요. 되게나 냐요. 제가 또 다도 유등이 지부디네 냐고요. 딱 이네 유등이 지부 양산에 다도 지부디래 숨바다 나블 지부스를 아니 녀와 유등이 지부 제바 유등이 지부스들에게 녀고야 뭐 보여. 제가 되게 그 동에 소주를 내지기 동에라양 나로 동에 당보인이고 숨바시는 것들의 연구에 그래서
Described already have been 4 antidote powers. And there too, when describing the negative karma of taking life, the first consequence of the negative karma of taking life is the fully ripened result that precipitates birth into hell and begins the required experience of pain and suffering. That is fully ripened result of the karma of taking life. But once that karma is exhausted through its fully ripened result, does that mean that there's no more pain to come? No, there is more pain to come as consequence of taking life, for there are two the causally concordant results of that karma, which may play out on the basis of a human endowment or the endowment of an animal. There are yet more results to come from the original karma. And when these causally concordant results have been exhausted, is that the end? Nor is this the end, for there are yet environmental results that follow from the karma. There are these environmental results, causally concordant results, causally concordant regarding the action, regarding the experience. There is variety in the results that follow from the karma. And so you see then in this way that there are any number of results that follow in this way. 1, 2, 3, and so on.
야, 녀와 녀외 동해를 차샤버는 녀외스들도 많아서 녀와스들 다 거기 나로 되지 말. 콜 레 프레스 레 사두비 조와슈 체중 원기 아니 녀와 농사기 내들라나 녀와들라 예지 약간 접지스 지금 당가 용다는 약간 접지스 대비를 해서
Even within the realm of hell and the pain experienced there, this is not simply one event. What happens in the hell realm further depends upon the level of application involved in the original non-virtuous karma at the time of its occurrence, such that even within the general realm of hell, there are furthermore 18 various kinds of experiences within that hell realm.
뭐 접지 근데 그래서는 다 산이 계스. 요 전부 계스 산이 계스. 장이 계. 아니 니 세워서 니 구웠어. 이 장가죠. 이게 주부주는 접지 어떤 이런 접지에서 장가자 그전한다 장가자 다 들으죠. 그래서
These 18 hells are 8 cold hells, 8 hot hells, neighboring hells, and the indefinite hells.
제가 그럼 접지 열 경험 접지 나왔다 수도 동의 레사단 고관이 아니요 수수 동의 수수 용거예요. 그거 아니요 산이 계획이나야 요 산이 계획이야 동의 치중 그 준비원이 아니요 예 달라게 아니 작년에 계좌비에 요 동의 치중 그 준비원이 무슨 계획 도시 달라게 그래서
Therefore, in 18 hell realms, pain experienced across those 18 hell realms differs depending upon the application involved in the original accumulation of the karma. The original application involved in the accumulation of the karma determines the kind of consequence that results across any of these 18 hells. The intensity of the pain experienced ranges across the 8 cold hells, ranges across the 8 hot hells.
뭐야? 나 근데 얘가 잠깐만 보자야가 디너에다 이다가 내가 그 가서 동해 용사기 내 망보 시 아니 디너 동해 그래 그런 거 이번에 시야가 나도 레뭐 사사 유 라겐이어로 겐이는 규디 다 유모드세 겐이 아니 다 레드가 유모디 원기 레디 쇠로세 아니 딜레 거기 klodo 주 유모디 제발 때는 유모다 레 좋아 타르고 원기 아니 녀와 지르바다 아니 계속 내 림바치 제고야 들어가가 달레 유모니 좋아 수 타르고 원기 아니 에들 에들 계기 요래서
So the sights across the hell realms, sights of pain and suffering too found in the Preta realm. These sights where pain and suffering is experienced and what the pain is and its intensity follow from the karma accumulated. The accumulation of karma is the condition for the experience of pain at these sites. The cause is originally klesha, afflicted minds. The karma is like the seed. The klesha provide conditions. And then this ripens into the array of pain and suffering in its range of intensity across the 18 hell realms. Thus, the intensity of the event and what was involved in the accumulation of the original karma, accompanied by afflicted minds, this determines the pain experienced at whichever site it is.
근데 이거 아주 그 레이 동해 매바 쇠세디 동의 내가 써야 되라 동의 규대 개인이로와 규대 개인이보디 내가 써투고 있는 동의 내가 써투하다 규대 개인이보디 내가 써마투고 있는 동의 내가 써투야 내가 나 어디네 딱 냠내기를 받으시고 그래서
Pain of karma would be finally eliminated. But pain of karma is a factor of both karma and klesha. Unless both karma and klesha are eliminated, pain overall cannot be eliminated. And thus, the practice is to eliminate both karma klesha.
지나시 좀내 개화들이야 주순 내 개화세 나 딜토 아니 잠바다 이제 나 막상 무섭다 내 여러 어디서 가가 아고 딜 게세 나 줄래 상보티다 게 잠바 이제도 좀 손나 내 개부 내 제부 대화선 더 주세 나주내 미개와티다 아니 되자가 세단 유무도 냠도 채소나 아니 제부 동의기요 나한테 이런 얘기 나왔다 냠내서 나한테 안내 보내서
When the karma is virtuous karma that is like the seed, and when the virtuous karma meets again with conditions of love, compassion, altruism, then these yield the result of bliss, contentment. These the results of the meeting of virtuous karma and love, compassion, altruism. When the karma is non-virtuous karma, meeting with anger, desirous attachment, envy, and the other klesha, they yield their result, pain. In view of these, then the nature of our spiritual practice.
이 나는 딱 랑도르네 세다 간다는 나도 동에 이게 미드버 동에 세고 위에나 유무다 레니 내가 소유체 대와 주고 위에나 아니 주께와 대단 레개와 대단 지기 초 아니 다 그게 참바다 니제도 수업하다 벌지도 그냥에 어디서 주점도 콘도점도 레 사고 위봐 이 사고이나 아니 제부 대화를 위봐 되게 단면에 전에 랑도스 랑자도 도착했네 스타 템바시 그냥 내가 그래서 템바시
Then practices to adopt and practices to reject. Pain that is undesirable would be eliminated. It would be eliminated through elimination of klesha that are its causes and the karmas. And contentment would be found through its causes and conditions, through the support of compassion, love, tolerance, the 6 paramitas. These virtuous karmas accumulated and their conditions present yield their result, well-being. These follow from the presentation of practices that one would adopt and practices that one would reject, and the presentation of the 4 truths of the noble ones.
하지만 레준데가 제람이 림반남 쳇때 시에버래 내가 제만에 담아도 동의 못 주체 지도라 난 예외의 동의 당도 내 혹시 동의를 같이 되지만 난 모두 제에 그린 대샤하고 저한테 보수
Then the lesson today is involved general presentation of karmic causality and the four truths of the noble ones and karma klesha. Next week, we will explore the sites of pain experienced in the hell realms, the first hell, the second, and the rest. And we will conclude here for now and begin the Q&A. Got a question? Let's hear it.
And one in this,
No doubts whatsoever. Let's hear it.
I would like to know more of the clear definition of pleasure.
Tad nyomongi sini
Mm.
and go. That's pretty critical.
remove the shadows in your most sim, not the simple, she somewhat the true manual to be to some, you know, that is we shall start with some of the shall put it in your no, Sana, and that is we some shall to Marwa. Then I think that's simple, and that's the Shiva Mashiva Sirona. And that will you know the same crucial, see what see tiny more, the share.
Klesha, afflicted mind, a perturbed mind. The nature of mind is purity and tranquility. When there's a body of water and it isn't turbid, it reflects the light of the moon. But with turbidity, then that reflection of the light of the moon is lost. So the mind that is peaceful, once it becomes disturbed, it is an afflicted mind. Now, this isn't the definition. This is a roundabout explanation.
일단 유목식은 정말 유목 책이 찍던 시작와 그 유목들이 뭐 쉬워라. 배나 아주 유목을 싸워줘 시작이나 찍다 찍다만 가지 거에 싸워서도 거에 싸워서 찍다서를 또 가다 안쟁이도 그 말이 봐서 싸워들 이 원도 되사기 안 되사기를 막 축처처도 공도 아마게 뭐 싸워 좀수 깨로라 자기 좀수 깨로 제가 리드 유모스라나 그나가 이게 가가 유모나 되대요 해서
To provide one definition, when first there are many types of afflicted minds, and when afflicted minds have as their fundamental cause the view of the transitory collection, that is samsara's root. From this avidya, nascience, ignorance, emerges desirous attachment. As desirous attachment intensifies, aversions and hostilities emerge. And then all of the rest of the afflicted minds, the 6 root afflictions and the rest. All of these afflicted minds are contained within klesha.
유모스도 막 변화도 성당이나 셈 시월 마시월 제바죠 셈 마투어죠 셈 마시월 제바데 유모 제레사 그래서
To gloss afflicted minds, klesha, it may be glossed this way. A mind composed when its composure is lost, the mind that would be pacific, pacified, when it loses composure, this is afflicted mind.
다만 당고 셈 거랑 마시고 셈 쓰리도 단단하란조 치기 온봉하고 유는 배주 야마 프로테인 셰바시도 길 온보라파 셰바라파 셈 셰바 창모데 온보주 파 고jem 온보주 배주 메어카도 셈 거라 치고 제 내리도 셈 창모 셈도 원에 내다 비어 해서
To describe consciousness in general terms, consciousness of the 5 sense faculties, states of awareness informed by the sense faculties are coarse levels of consciousness. When the states of consciousness from gross faculties are inactive, then subtle consciousness is present, this characterizing nature of mind.
거의 딱 셈 온보 관만 뭔지 지도 좀나 주주 파트들이 다 같이 on 셈도 방치 셈 마시고 차디가 셈 프로 유모 없어요 셈 라과라스 셈 보러 제마 라과되게 파파파파 간 참모처 아니 맞아 그게 셈 참모는 당도가 계속 전망제 도순 아니 추어 어세싱가 셈 참모 샤런데 아니 셈을 하시니까 셈 오늘 그랑 셈랑 내가 제 대거 레스먼스 안데 셈 처음에 내가 지금 말을 셈 라퍼스 말아가지고
Conscious awareness emerging from sense faculties involving higher order consciousness, monitoring conscious states informed by sense faculties. These are largely afflicted states of awareness. They are afflicted and gross states of awareness. When these are deactivated, when they are no longer active, when in the secret mantrayana they are inactive, then appearance, increase, near attainment, and finally the dawning of clear light characterize nature of mind.
거의 딱 아주 좀 땡겨진 그 시대 급식으로 그러니까 누가 쌤 라빠기 파까 내서 아니 쌤 파모들 내가 지도가 지들 아니 다 땡겨지 쌤 때문에 요아 땡겨지 요아 좀 뭐냐면 쌤 파모들 내가 지도하고요 그래서
When we undertake exercises in samadhi and undertake to establish serenity, shamatha, these are in order to deactivate coarse states of awareness, to access subtle states of mind. So the exercises in samadhi are to expose and exercise subtle states of consciousness.
나도 장기 롱스를 장 어떤 쌤 그 땡겨서 공부 되면 롱도 뭐 자롱 파동도 장 세고 장 아니 쌤롱 때뭐 야고 장도 쌤데 때뭐 롱도 tempo me va a sempre per proprio si c'arriva adesso.
These exercises involve exercising the moving winds. A sudden accomplishment of samadhi and serenity does not come about suddenly without exercising the moving wind energies. For when there's exercise of moving wind energies and then those moving wind energies are stilled, then in that stillness too, the mind is still. Any other questions?
So transforming the pain, one gets calm down, and that power will have constant and next lives. If that's correct, that the transformation of the pain and suffering through which practice or which talk of healing or exercise and one to do that.
Gọi là tập thì 동화디 아니 대화수 교수디 되게 왕도 땅나 다 대화 치마라 핑계래 동아디 대화수 규르고를 아니 얘네야 냠는 간제스체네 동아디 대화수 규르토기를
이들은 말 동의 대화를 쓰면서 동의이 다스 내려서와 동의들 동의들 대화스 이 바꿔 내지 같이 동의이 뭐 내려서야지 대화이 수수 그게 힘받지 뭐 상을 되지 순간
pain itself, pain is not transformed into well-being. Pain is eliminated. Well-being is achieved. They are differentiated. Pain differentiated from well-being. And the pains are eliminated. Well-being and contentment is achieved.
딱 세치면 동의스라는 시계도 먼저 세대기 이득이 딱 먼저 거기 망고 규제 땅 투에 가보래라 줄내 시라 그거 여기 세치면 되었으려면 유와 땅에 유와 땅 투그래 유와 땅나야 현도 침묵 어디 되시겠냐 해서
And pain in this life, satisfaction and dissatisfaction in this life alone, is actually difficult to change at all. And changing the state of affairs of satisfaction, dissatisfaction in this life is also not our principal purpose. Rather, in lives to come, the transformation is possible. In lives to come, it can happen then. And if it were to happen, it would be beneficial.
먼저 되시게도 세대기 대화던 동에서나 야전이 그 지세로 저는 주주제 세치는 대화던 동에라나 하자는 친구 망고 유르고 되게 대화던 동에 내주 차기요 제가 이들 먼저 세대기 대두들라 맥다기 영화 치면 대화도 대두들라 먼저 미유체 아니 그냥 이제 르바트 시기요 그래서
Satisfactions and dissatisfactions in this life are comparatively trivial. They are 1%, 2% of what would be our purpose. But subsequent lives are when satisfaction and dissatisfactions are actually borne out in a non-trivial way, taking place over long periods, being very diverse. And so the point is not satisfaction and dissatisfactions of this life, but satisfaction, dissatisfaction, contentment, and well-being in lives to come.
제가 세대기 두면서나 세요 그래도 제가 요 말을 모두 두속에 다다 세야 투고 세천에 두면은 되게 세야요 세매 세 개차 ben 되게 차려서 제가 되게 이다 모두 두면 친구들 세 투야 네 뭐 시험을 해서 우리 친구들 세 투는 친구들 거 내가 세 투고
Pains and pleasures in this life are easily quantifiable. They're finite. But pains and pleasures in subsequent lives and future lives, they are across those lives unquantifiable, well beyond measure. And when the objective is well-being beyond measure, then the finite and trivial contentments will naturally come to pass.
다시 먼저 잡부터 레드 제부 생일이 나랑 또 레드 제부 생일이 먼저 셈을 내가 하루 편치고 요르 니만 찍나라야 레만 못 살려 다이나 레 사죠 디나라 먼저 레 사죠 디나라 레 개와디 하단 뉴레 디고도 망보요 다티 레 디고도 망을 이르 쓰시기 먼저 동해 요하게 보가 망아 차 일단 먼저 동해 요하 그거 망아 차잖아 아니 먼저 동해에 용인이 미신다 스스로 와 그다음에 용 먹어야 쏘고 쏘야다 한번 레드 굉장히 납작이 약간 시험했어 시에는 아니 레 미디어 있잖아 레 미디어 파 내봤어요 레드 냠도 유저 초 뉴모드도 봐 맞지봐 매바 차야 다 된저 제약이 난 고급디 단연 나जो를 요래 제 투그래 제 고급 요래 제도 편도 요가 어떻게 차기 요래 제가 담아도 이게 냠이 된다 아니 다 너무 제요래서
In karmic causality, karmas yield results. I emphasized the component of mental activity that is responsible for the accumulation of karmas, which yield their results. And in mental activities, we see that the number of non-virtuous mental activities are much greater than the number of virtuous activities. This means that the future is ripe for the pain produced by non-virtuous mental activity. And not imagining this is relevant to others, but acknowledging this applies to oneself. One would acknowledge the karmic causality and recognize in the present moment the opportunity to reduce the negative karmas, the non-virtuous mental karmas, that when they meet with afflicted minds, then yield the pain and suffering that we wish to avoid. The present moment is the opportunity, the very opportunity to make the change that can be made. The benefits and advantages of this can indeed be found. And so our reason for undertaking our practice now.
뭐지? 사람들 들다도 걔는 마지나 라기다 나랑도 수수기 돼야 대화지 법이야 동해지 마요야 사람 뒤된다 한다 동해 뭐지 동해 뭐처럼 동해들 타답지 동해들 타고 중순하는 동해 양고 말에 근데 뭐를 이해하러 뭐 되려서는 네 간다니까 수수기 동해세 탑시 가리가리요래 여러 탑시 가리가리요 대시 되려요 어디를 들은 샤스.
So in short, then, whatever we might say about it, pain is undesirable. Pleasure is desirable. We would avoid pain. We seek means to avoid it. So the reason for our describing what these pains are, so that then we might make the attempt to free ourselves from these pains. And when we do, in fact, free ourselves from pain, then naturally it will be pleasant. And so then we show what might be the means to elimination of pain and securing contentment. And so we will conclude here.
뭘 그냥
참 그래. 샵도 참 그래.
네. 근데 자기 제야다 아니 지금 유기 남기 때야다. 저를 잘해야 보내 여와사에 비고 보야 근데 또 비슷해 냠네 제야들 뭐만 보여.
Yes, indeed. One expresses this in mudra and in gestures, in physical expression. The mudras, the physical expressions, do in fact work to eliminate non-virtues as well. They are too part of the practice. Yes, indeed.
또 대중하고 당고 뜻이 야다를 또 이기 거는 수족을 내 여와사야 들어라니 그런 상보 제노 아니 주부주나다 나 데모션나다 누이나다 가가 아니 개화차를 했어 그래서 그런 미디어 도자시나 포노모를 줄때나 주부주 가르차비나 디바를 안 남길 때나 디바를 가르치는 디바 차이로 왔잖아 나는 이기 대두부터는 르마기 저바 때마다 그날 이 대회 보니 류지 남주 가를 때만 개와 아니 이 니모 베센지 류지 남주 가를 때는 디바 저는 이 이도 맞다 또이 남주를 개치고 이거 대신 포함되지 yap사인 손
And for this reason, first, we see the mind is responsible for physical and verbal virtues. When the mind has composed itself and committed itself to virtuous conduct, then whatever the expression that takes physically, whether it's pointing or it's laughing or it's crying, all of these are virtuous. But when the mind has composed itself non-virtuously, then whatever it does physically and verbally will be inciting desirous attachment and aversions and the rest of the klesha, whether one is pointing or laughing or crying, these will be non-virtues. Thus, the decisive role of the inner mind in determining whether physical and verbal activities are virtuous or are not. Where the mind has composed itself virtuously, then physical and verbal activities are virtuous. And when the mind is already composed non-virtuously, then physical and verbal activities are non-virtuous. Thus, the mind determines the virtues.
진가상도 지혜나 요구가 패마 끼고 돌아와 진가 도세지는 수수 마이지고 진 요구 강가 마이지고 소로 된난지 찍고 열어서
When patronage comes from one who's benevolent, the beneficiaries are in fact benefited. But when the patronage comes from the malicious person, there's no benefit found by any beneficiary.
아니 너는 좋지 아니 나도 최민시 제비 개와 뒤기 때문에 아니 지기다 내가 대화 가르 되고 있는 두바다 동에 세워라 아니 땡이 대화 세마 편제다 지금 내 냠바 내 뒤기 오는데 니모 뒤기 오는데 내 사도 내 그거 다 한게 아니 델로 이제 아니 왜 하루가 더 받는데 더 모아서 그래서
And now we will recite our closing prayers to dedicate the virtues accumulated through exchange and dharma to finding well-being. and dispelling pain and suffering, so that in lives to come, our negative karmas are purified and afflicted minds purified, so that our fortunes are ever increasing and eventually lead to full liberation. To this end, we dedicate our prayers. Page 12.
Rangi jishin tobe lamgi ni shudra tsebe tawe tagi roe yiji mba seje ne gewe tenpa yunrin zengyur tenpa rinjen choge matya pang kyabyan nyambar yurwe chode ne yiji tenpe yirab gyoba yi pende teje sewar jeba sho Seje gawe menjun chile le ru chanju lamye rembe gyang Tadu namye ila pete shin gawe te paringu Lanzan rube tungin tuje jim Gegen seje midam nimin Sera kundu gawe mabali Namda lamda rewa majin chesh Kaze deva jala suje suje jala jala de Tude nage tato roje je Tashi yaso From my two collections, vast the space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all of those whose mind's wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my life. May I find the best of the paths of the complete teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practicing. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned. May I uphold Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may I offer this treasure of happiness to aid all sentient beings. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted boundless peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time by following the complete graduated path to enlightenment and the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings that eliminate adversity, make things conducive for practicing the excellent path, never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may he always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. Yabe babo chidar chenpa tang kundu sambo deyan deshen Teta kunji tetsu lalo chi gewa tita tamche ratu Tuzo jebe gewa tamche gi Mowa gangla choto napa te Dagi jewe tsawa digu jan Sambo chichi ratu mowa rge Chanju semju rinpoche make bana degiruche Yeba nyamba meba oni kondu pevorusho. I dedicate whatever virtues I've ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of sentient beings
and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Losang Drapa to shine forever. In a land encircled by snowy mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good, all powerful anything else. Please remain until cyclic existence is ended. Just as the brave mantra tree and the Mantabhadra too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best, by the victorious Lescan ones of the three times, so that I might perform the noble bodhisattvas deeds. May the supreme jewel of bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. Thank you, and I thank all of you for coming to the Sunday morning lecture. Thank you very much. And the weather outside now is nice, so join us for lunch together in the courtyard.